Good afternoon. Happy last day, here in Michigan anyway, of 2012. Now, a fair warning, I have inserted a few hidden messages in this video, so they are not meant to influence one's thinking, but just for an educational purposes on my behalf. American in distress. Not anti-American, by no means. This is my right to bear arms video. Now, I'm not going to go into tragedies, we've had a few, but I think that there's evil people running this world, in this country, and I think that if you ever have human suffering on a grand scale, and killing and murder and human suffering on a grand scale, you can always trace it back to one group of people. And I'm going to do that right now. Now, who makes these weapons? And I heard this on Alex Jones. I was getting ready to start doing some investigating on my own already, and I knew Cerberus was a big investment company that had a lot of investments in shady, sort of underhanded murder weapon, government collecting money sort of schemes. But they're an investment company, and their job is to make money regardless of the moral obligations that's behind this endeavor. That goes to the wayside. The main objective here is to make money hand over fist. And when you have a tragedy such as Waco or Ruby Ridge, let's go back to, gun sales and ammunition sales surge, and they make tons of money. These corporations make tons of money. Now I want to talk about this Cerberus. So here, I've got it on the screen right here. This is from The Nation, December 5th, I believe, 2012. And who is this guy right here? Now this is Cerberus. They're an investment company. They're not a manufacturing company. What happened is they had went and bought all these gun manufacturers. This was years ago, like 2004, 2001. I don't even know. But this is Dan Quayle. Now I'm going to read a couple paragraphs here. How fitting that Dan Quayle, a bumbling excuse for a vice president of the United States, should end up as a top executive of a $20 billion private equity firm mired in controversy. Quayle, who signed on with Cerberus in 1999, was with that company during its takeover and subsequent bankruptcy of Chrysler, questionable military contract deals in Afghanistan, and, most recently, manufacturing the assault rifle used in the Newtown massacre. Now I didn't mark these, so bear with me. This is a really good article. It's hard to get this one to come up, but you got to try it a few times. I read probably 50, and this was the best one that really served my case here. So anyway, I want to read another paragraph. Okay, in case you missed a connection, as did too many in the mainstream media, the former vice president was rewarded for his graft-filled performance in that job, vice president, with the far more lucrative position of chairman of Cerberus Global Investments, LLC. He was hired for that post by Cerberus CEO Steven Feinberg. These names just always pop up. An alum of the disgraced and defunct junk bond Emporium, Dexel, Burnham, and Lambert. In addition to owning Bushmaster, the manufacturer of the assault weapon used in the Connecticut massacre, Cerberus holdings have included Chrysler Corporation, bailed out by U.S. taxpayers, and they got a $4.5 billion payment before the bailout that these guys cashed in on, and Dynacorp, the military construction contractor that is subject to a major special Inspector General's investigation of its activities in Afghanistan. All three businesses are deeply dependent on the decisions of the federal government, once served by Quayle and other high members of the Cerberus team. Now these are the guys, like I said, Cerberus didn't directly invest in the weapons companies, but like Freedom Corp or something, one of their branches did. And they have lots of branches. They also are in all kinds of military contracts. They were the 11th. Wait, I'll show you this in a minute. But you know, this is all people from the Bush administration, administrations before that, and probably pretty soon the Obama administration. They served time in Congress or on the floor, or in this case, vice president, and they just have lucrative positions. And it's all Bush. The Bush is always behind all this. So if you think they're going to sell the holdings in these gun companies while these sales are surging, you might as well just go back to sleep, because they're not. They may wait until there's sort of regulations that make it more impossible to manufacture these guns, but as long as they're selling them and the ammo, they're going to be in it up to their necks, because these pension funds and these huge pension funds are invested in this, and huge people with huge money are invested in this, and they're not going to let go of it. They're going to hold it on to it like a barnacle. American in distress. And Cyprus. The 11th largest federal contractor is a hedge fund. That's a question, really, and the answer is yes. 11th largest federal contractor. That means 11th receiver of federal contract funds. According to the Federal Procurement Data System list of the top federal contractors, number 11 was Cyprus Capital Management, raking in $4.8 billion from the federal government in the fiscal year of 2010. Cyprus Capital Management is a hedge fund, an exclusive private equity firm generating income for some of America's wealthiest families. I'm not going to go into this, but it talks about they invest in all kinds of stuff, and if the war ends, they got investments. They're still going to be bleeding the federal government. It basically is what the answer is. Now, you can go out and you can buy weapons. I believe that if in a totally free society, we would be able to manufacture our own weapons. Why should we have to go out and buy it from some group of investors that are just, these same investors are making the guidance systems for the drones that are killing all these little kids overseas and all these people. We're making the guidance systems for the missiles where they already installed in those new Israeli submarines with the nuclear warheads. I think with the Tomahawk missiles we sold, they retrofitted for the submarines, and then of course they put the nuclear warheads on top of them. It's all American-made stuff. And Cyprus is a big investor in all this stuff, and they're always going to make money on wars. Now, my question is, should we support these corporations that support these wars? Now, if you go out and buy weapons, you're supporting Cyprus. And like I said, you got to do your research. Look at these guys. Their hands are on all kinds of dirty, underhanded, scallywagon shit. That's the Bush gang. That's the Bush gang. That's what the Bush gang does. And the Bush gang encompasses a lot of people, not just the Bushes. And hell, in the entire Congress and Senate, basically. And the president. Obama is part of the Bush gang. So is Hillary. They're all part of it. I call it the Bush gang anyway. You may call it something else. I call it the Bush gang. Okay. I just want to get that out there. Happy 2013 in a little while here. I'm going to make some video about nuclear weapons, who's building the nuclear weapons, who's profiting from this, who's profiting from destroying them. It's a whole story. It goes so deep. I've been at this for 3 weeks. I haven't even hit the tip of the iceberg yet. But I wanted to bring this Cyprus thing out here because they are a large investors in these weapons. They own them. They invested so much money. They own more than 51% of all these companies. Do your research. Find out who you are supporting before you spend your money on this stuff. Because if you're supporting death and mayhem and chaos and fuckyouness, you know what? You're part of it. There's no excuse. By the way, I did not buy one thing for Christmas. Did not go into one store. I'm American in distress, non-consumer. Duck out.